Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike and 5 other G5 governors have launched a political offensive against the presidential flag bearer of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku. Speaking at the dinner organized in honor of G5 by Governor Autumn, Wike, Okezie Ikpeazu, Seyi Makinde, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, and Samuel Ortom declared the efforts to break their ranks were failing because they are bonded to save Nigeria. Wike added that nobody can break the ranks of the 5 governors, G5, who have continued to insist on the resignation of the party's national chairman. Senator Yocha, are you?
This is the PDP family. Even between us and our wives, we fight at times. But I have shown solidarity to their colleague. Today we are launching PDP campaign in Benue, and these PDP governors.
In spite of the seeming differences that we have, we will not do anything that will undermine the authority and the leadership of the governor. At the same time, we will not do anything that will disgrace our son, who is the national chairman of PDP. Very hopefully, we believe that there is nothing that God cannot do.
PDP no school here in Benue State, we have no problem. By the grace of God, we shall win our election. We have been winning and we will win and we shall win again. PDP!
I want to wish you a successful campaign, and by February, March 2023, you will have delivered Benue State, all your candidates to PDP.
The PDP family of the coast city in Enugu State, I'm here to support my friend, my brother, the former governor of Benue State. God's own gifts to Benue people, Governor Samuel Ortom, and all our candidates.
I will ask and urge the people of Benue State to follow Governor Autumn. Follow him where no road. Don't follow somebody where no road. And I believe that Autumn is Moses.
Right, a lot to discuss about this, Dr. Patti.
Okay, the G5, as they are now known, Wike and friends, Seyi Makinde of Oyo State, Governor Samuel Ortom of Benue State, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi of Enugu State, Governor Okezie Ikpeazu of Abia State. Okay, the G5. Those 5 governors who decided that they would not campaign for Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, on the grounds that it is not possible in their own reckoning, that it amounts to lack of equity and injustice, in their view, to have a northern presidential candidate and to also have the chairman of the party in the person of Senator Dr. Yocha coming from the northern part of the country. This is their grounds, and their minimum condition for supporting the presidential candidate of the party is that ASUU should be removed or ASUU should resign. However, the party had passed a vote of confidence in the Yocha ASUU. That's one. 2, the chairman himself has said he's not going anywhere, whether Wike and friends like it or not. And number 3, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party said during his visit to the United States most recently on the Voice of America radio channel that he has moved on. He is not worried again whether, Wike and the 4 other governors are supporting him or not. He says he has put that behind him. Shortly after that, we now have Governor Samuel Ortom of Benue State inviting his friends to Benue. What is the purpose? The governor was going to launch the PDP campaign in Benue State on Sunday. Hence, you also have, other stakeholders in Benue at that event. And then secondly, he was going to commission a number of projects. And he commissioned quite a number of road projects. Ironically, what should be noted is that a 2.1 kilometer road behind the commissioner's quarters the road leading to the house of the PDP chairman, Senator Yochi Ayu, was named Inyesom Wike Road. You know, there's some, you know, macabre humor there. Because what it means is that each time Senator Ayu goes to his house in Makurdi, he will be traveling on Inyesom Wike Road. It's such a reminder, you know, that they cannot be wished away. And then another thing that occurred on Sunday was that the governor honored the 4 visiting governors as honorary citizens of Benue State. And there was a cocktail party for them at the newly completed banquet hall of the Benue People's House in Makurdi, where, you know, the 4 visiting governors were decked out in TV traditional attire, and you know, they could be seen dancing, showing solidarity with Wike, saying every attempt has been made to break them up, but that nobody can break them, and that their mission is to save Nigeria, and it's all about inclusivity that they are fighting for, and that they still insist that Yoshi Ayu must go. Well, within the PDP, in that regard, they constitute a minority. But they're still campaigning for PDP at other levels in their states. They have also not left the party, but Governor Wike in particular has made it very clear that he's not going to campaign for the presidential candidate of the party. Hence, the buses that he launched the other day for PDP campaign in Rivers State, he deliberately omitted Atiku Abubakar's pictures from the posters, from the campaign buses. I don't know whether Governor Otom has also followed suit to do the same. It is an indication that all is not well within the PDP with these 5 rebels as other PDP members who consider them. But the difference is that unlike 2014, when other governors left the party, they have decided to stay within to fight the battle. How much damage can they do to the PDP ticket? It remains to be seen.
Right, I mean, you said it all, Dr. Abati. How much damage can they do? It remains to be seen. But this is the damage being done already. At a time where the PDP struggled to win in 2019, and they didn't win when they had their house put together. And at a time like this, that they feel, oh, could have been a good chance for them, the party is divided. And what is the party divided on? Based on the principles of the things on ground. The fact that we've had this long, drawn-out talk about the fact it was supposed to be ceded to the south, you know, zoning and all of that, but the party decided to keep it open. And we've gone through all of that. One thing is certain, Atiku Abubakar definitely has to put this behind him. And he has to face the elections. And he has started, like I said in the VOA interview, that he has started to put this behind him. And the governors, too, have decided that they will not support him. In fact, the fight on the part of Otom now is two-pronged. Apart from, you know, the party debacle going on, you also have the case of, you know, statements being made as regards, you know, Fulani killing, and Otom saying, no, it looks as though Atiku is defending those that are killing his people in Benue and all of that. So that talk has been back and forth for a while. Governor Seyi Makinde holding on. Will he be able to get re-election, you know, in Oyo State? Only time will tell. Ogwai is not running for re-election in Enugu State. Probably he's got his own person in there, Peter Mba. Will that be able to hold sway? You've got other candidates in that elections in Enugu. You've got the likes of former Minister of Youth and Sports, if my memory serves me right. Frank Weke Jr., he's running the APGA in that race against the PDP candidate. But a lot of people say Enugu has always been a safe force for the PDP. And also, you know, Governor Nyesom Wike, who is candidate Sim Fubara, is out there in the race running very high. In fact, there was a poll that was released recently, also, you know, as pushed out by the ANAP Foundation, or supported by the ANAP Foundation, that says the Sim is doing quite well in the race. So let's see how the race is going to pan out. But one thing is this the first time it's happening in politics in Nigeria? Hell no. It's happened in the 80s, if my memory serves me right, Dr. Saraki, debacle in the 80s. It's happened, you know, even as early as 2011 elections. Bola Ahmed Tinubu did a deal last minute, you know, with the PDP. Lagos shifted for the PDP presidential election, and the governorship election went to the ACN. I think in that election, Governor Fashola did win by about 1.5, over a little over 1.5 million and 9,000 votes, you know, in that election in 2011. It was only one state where they had a drawn-out battle, and that was Osun State, because of Ralph Aregbesola and Olagunsoye Olola having a drawn-out battle. That was the only state the ACN candidate, Nuhu Ribadu and Fola Adeola, did win. So we've seen it happen before. The question is, this is not going to be any different. Like you said, Dr. Bati, in 2014, the case was the governor decided to leave, but we've seen people that still stayed on in the party and decided to support another person. The extent of damage remains to be seen. The campaigns are out there. Would also like to encourage, you know, all the candidates, attend the debates. Let us hear you espouse your ideas. Let us have robust conversations. Don't shy away from it. And let's make this campaign season strong. Presidential candidates of the All Progressive Congress, Bola Tinubu, has paid a visit to former military president Ibrahim Babangida and his Hilltop president in Mina. Tinubu, in company of some APC chieftain, was in Mina as part of his consultations with opinion leaders and notable Nigerians to garner more support for his presidential bid. The two men, after exchanging pleasantries, went to a closed-door meeting. The outcome of the meeting yet to be disclosed. Meanwhile, presidential candidate of the new Nigerian People's Party, Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, has said he's not in running to be Nigeria's president out of desperation, but because he wanted to offer quality leadership to Nigerians. He however said that Nigerians must elect the next president of the country on the basis of competence and capacity of the individual, and not on the basis of the religion, ethnicity. The NNPP candidate, who made this known in Enugu yesterday, said the party was setting up its offices in the state ahead of 2023 general elections. He said that he was hopeful of emerging as next president of Nigeria, having worked in the political space for over 30 years, adding that the party has already established a stronghold in 19 states in the north. Dr. Bati?
Okay, where do we start from? Let's start with Dr. Kwankwaso. Dr. Kwankwaso was in Enugu to campaign. Ordinarily, people have said, oh, you know, he's very strong in Kano. But the Nigerian Constitution stipulates that for you to be president of Nigeria, you must get about 25% of the votes, or is it a third of the votes, 1/3 of the votes, in 2/3 of states, of the 36 states plus FCT, which will translate into 24 states. So in other words, you can't be president of Nigeria if you just restrict your campaign to your village. And they provided, you know, speaking in Enugu, a justification that, yes, he's coming to the south to campaign. And he made a number of points. One of the points is that his party, the NNPP, represent an alternative to the APC and the PDP, two parties that he dismissed as two sides of the same coin. In fact, he was quoted as saying the APC is in fact worse than the PDP. The irony, however, is that Dr. Kwankwaso was one of the founding members of the PDP in 1988, 1999. And he moved from the PDP to the APC at some point before he stopped briefly elsewhere, and then he formed the NNPP. Okay, so when he criticizes the APC and the PDP, people are quick to remind them that, well, you were once one of them, so what is new about the NNPP? But he also used the opportunity of his trip to Enugu State, you know, to campaign, to talk about how he will stop oil theft, having been Minister of Defense of Nigeria at a certain point in his over 30 years career in the public arena, and how he also intends to recruit more soldiers, increase the population of Nigerian soldiers from 250 to 1 million, and of the police from, quoting him, less than 230,000 to 1 million, where the size of the Nigerian police is a little more than 230,000. It's much closer to 300,000 now. But it's good to see that he's taking his campaign around, because one major criticism against him is that, oh, the NNPP is a Kano-based party. So coming down to the south to campaign will give that impression that he's very serious about the campaign. He's not trying to do a deal with anybody, and that, you know, he intends to cover the field so that he can get that required constitutional, you know, number in 2/3 of the states if people vote for him. As for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, where his trip to Mina was mentioned in the statement that was issued by Festus Keyamo following the absence of the APC presidential candidate at the town hall meeting organized by Arise TV last Sunday. The statement was that he was going to Mina to hold a meeting with agro farmers and commodities farmers, and that was the excuse. So on Monday, he was found in Mina along with his running mate, Governor Shettima, former Governor Shettima. And you recall that in January, when ASUU Bola Ahmed Tinubu visited Niger State, when he donated 50 million naira to assist Niger State over the insecurity challenge in the state. He also visited General Ibrahim Babangida. And the excuse he gave at that time, when people made an issue out of it, was that there was no way he would go to Mina and he would not visit the former head of state to pay homage. Okay, that's standard practice. Okay, and that's precisely what he has done this time. In January, he said he was going to receive the general's blessing for his presidential ambition. He said he was consulting widely. This time around, he was in Mina for a town hall meeting, as his event was titled. And of course, he paid a courtesy call on General Ibrahim Babangida. And he's not alone in this regard. Since General Babangida left office, any person of, substance who goes to Mina considers it, a sense of duty to go and pay homage at the home of General Babangida, and also leaving the place, they will also stop by at the home of General Abdulsalami Abubakar, because these are persons that are regarded as the makers or the drivers, the special powers of Nigeria. It's like going to Abeokuta when politicians go to Abeokuta. They include going to pay homage to former President Olusegun Obasanjo as part of their itinerary. Well, how much influence do these persons have? Well, we don't know. Our culture allows you, says, okay, you can pay homage to elders, to persons who have traveled ahead of you and all of that. But what is important? The election of 2023 is not going to be determined in Mina. It's not going to be determined in Abeokuta. It will be determined at the polling units, right? The over 8,000 polling units that we have in Nigeria. And it will be determined with the Nigerian people making an informed choice with their PVCs. But in terms of courtesy, yes, it's an African thing to pay homage, to pay courtesies. But the real job is out there on the field, engaging with the generality of the Nigerian people and telling them what you have to offer.
So I'll start with Kwanko. So yes, he's trying to cover the field. He had his showing at the town hall organized, by Rise TV, where he espoused some of his ideas. He's been able to put out his manifesto. But, like I always say, that we should interrogate the manifesto of every candidate. And those that have not put out their manifesto should please put out their manifesto. There are some things I have questions with, and I'll keep on asking these questions because I'm not seeing the answers. As regards how he's going to pay for the over 1 million police force he wants to put, and the fact that, it's sort of like welfareist idea to education, that JAM will not be paid for, terminal exams will not be paid for, it will last for 4 years. That revenue stream, are you going to block it? Because, we need to have the real conversation about education. For you to get quality education, it has to be paid for. We have to pay serious money for education because it's not tokenist, it's not cheap. It is something that moves the needle. So how are you going to get the investment in a country where we're not making enough, in revenue? And how are you going to pay for those police officers and all of that? But you can't deny the fact that he's doing well in Kano. In fact, some of the polls that are coming out of Kano, as regards the governorship race, Yusuf Kabir, or Kabir Yusuf, the candidate of NMPP, is up ahead, Again, I'm quoting those NOI polls as released by ANAP and all of that. So it shows that he's doing quite well. And when you look at the Kwankwasia movement, the Red Cap movement, that pretty much, channels the Aminu Kano movement, the Talakawa movement, the Nepo movement. You can see that Kano has always been a hot spot for those ideas. And that's why if you dial back to the 79 elections, Aminu Kano did do well in Kano State, apart from all the other top candidates that were there, and they will always retain their heartland. But it needs to get it spread across the country. Will he do a deal? Last minute, will he not do? The jury is out on that, but we'll see the possibilities as emerge there. But one thing is certain, the election is about Nigerian people spread across 36 states, 774 local government, 100,000 polling units, across the country. But what is most important also is the capacity to be able to interrogate the candidates. I saw the picture of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I mean, this is not the first time he's going to Minna to seek blessing. All of them do go to Minna, most of the presidential candidates. But one thing just, occurred to me while I saw that picture of him talking to General Ibrahim Babangida. It shows how things change in life. I want to dive out the coin to 92, 93. These two men were way on opposing sides 92, 93. Tinubu had just been elected senator then, and they were trying to fight for the mandate of the democracy that the likes of Ibrahim Babangida was holding away from them. And we all remember what happened to those elections. They were finally annulled. June 12, 1993 presidential election was annulled, and that struggle continued. Segue 30 years after, the same two individuals that were on opposing sides, one of that now is going to meet the other one, to get his blessing as he runs for presidential election. That's supposed to show you something about life and about politics and about leadership, that things can indeed very much change in life. And secondly, once the interests change, that's all that matters. So for all you political candidate surrogates and the likes that abuse people and try to hurt other people because they don't share your views, these people will always find a way of alignment one way or the other. But the question is, what is in it for you in all of this process? And let me tell you what's in it for you. Quality schools for your children, access to pipe-borne water. Only 10% of the Nigerian population have access to pipe-borne water. Good roads, security. In 14 subsection 2 of the Constitution talks about the primary goal of the government should be providing security for you. Providing an enabling environment for businesses with policies. Those are the things that affect you. The fact that government should make policies so that companies can come and set up jobs for people like you to be able to get those jobs. Get well-paying jobs. Get good quality healthcare system. And this is hinged on your vote. And that's why if these issues matter so much to you and the future of your children, you should go out there and cast your votes. And for the person that can meet your needs, because they are not thinking about you, they're thinking about your own interest. It is time for you to think about your own interest. They are thinking about their own interest, and that's why you should think of your own interest. And if anybody's not doing your bidding, don't vote them. Vote for the people you truly trust. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has criticized the federal government over the payment of half salaries to lecturers for the month of October. Federal government has justified its action, explaining that the lecturers were paid based on the number of days they worked in the stated month. However, ASUU President Emmanuel Shodeke says members are not casual workers and should not be treated as such. Shodeke described the action of government as an aberration and contravention of the rules of engagement. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Rep. Amila, has appealed to the members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities as to remain calm in the view of their latest outcry over the reported payments of their salaries by federal government. The statement, personally signed by the Speaker, he noted that efforts to find a lasting solution to the concerns frequently raised by ASUU were on, noting that President Muhammadu Buhari has indicated interest to wade into the latest concerns raised by the union. Amila noted that the position taken by the executive that it was not obligated to pay salaries to lecturers for time spent in strike is premised on law and the federal government's legitimate interest in preventing moral hazard and discouraging disruptive industrial action. He also restated his commitment to provide sustainable reforms to the Nigerian tertiary education system. Dr. Bati.
Okay. ASUU went on strike for 8 months, right?
Yeah.
From February to October 14. The strike was called off on October 14, 2022, following the ruling of the Court of Appeal. When ASUU went on appeal, the Court of Appeal had decided that ASUU must first obey the ruling of the lower court in this circumstance. And on the basis of that and the intervention of the leadership of the House of Representatives, ASUU decided to return to the classroom. And since then, many of the affected 43 public universities have started lectures. In some universities, exams have even started. Attempts have been made not to cancel the 2021-2022 academic session. Now, at the end of October, what we're now hearing is that the Ministry of Labor, in conjunction with the Ministry of Finance, decided that the university teachers should be paid pro rata on the basis of work done and work not done, which means that they were not paid from February to September. And for October, the teachers are alleging that they are being paid half salary. Now, ASUU met Monday, Tuesday, the National Executive Council of ASUU met, and what Professor Sodeke told the press is that they are considering the option of going to court to challenge this. The Ministry of Labor is insisting that under Section 43 of the Trade Disputes Act 2004, there is a no work, no pay principle. Now, the academics do not agree with this because they say they are not daily pay workers. They are not casual workers. Their work does not only require going to the classroom physically to teach. They also do research. Even if they were on strike as academics, they were still, doing part of their work. They may not go to the classroom. Now, that's one argument. Secondly, their lawyer, Femi Falana SAN, has put out a statement to draw attention to the fact that this will amount to a violation of the rights of the lecturers under Section 42 of the 1999 Constitution, which deals with the principle of non-discrimination on any grounds. Because, as he pointed out, the National Association of Resident Doctors last year went on strike. And when they came back, and the same Ministry of Labor was going to apply the same principle of no work, no pay, the ministry was overruled by President Muhammadu Buhari. When nurses and midwives also went on strike, the Labor Ministry also wanted to apply this no work, no pay principle. They were overruled by President Buhari. So what counsel to ASUU is now saying, in the spirit of fairness, is that President Buhari should overrule the Ministry of Labor, and then ensure that the academics, the university teachers, are paid their full salary for the month of October, and that no work, no pay principle is legally faulty and misleading. Now, will President Buhari heed the advice of Femi Falana SAN? I think he should. Because again, as has been pointed out by commentators on the subject, this could be provocative. It will be demoralizing for the teachers who say, well, they are making a principled point about their rights and also about the condition of the university system in Nigeria. It could also have a debilitating psychological effect on students who have had to stay at home for 8 months. Now, some of the semesters that were lost in some universities are being packed into just 1 month. Some of the universities that came in October, they will be writing exams from the end of November. Some have even started writing exams because the lecturers just gave outlines and all that and said, okay, get ready for exams. So it's not fair, to harass students in this manner. And I share the view of the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, that this matter can be resolved, and we hope that the matter will be resolved. And the President should take special notice of the advice by Femi Falana SAN that, in the spirit of fairness, he should just do for the university teachers what was done for others previously by overlooking the fact that they went on strike. ASUU has not talked about the possibility of going on strike again, but if that happens, that will further do damage both to the integrity of the academic process and also, the entire education system in Nigeria. As students resumed in the month of October, some students, in fact, did not return. Some of them have gone to private universities. Some of them had abandoned the programs. In fact, in one state in the east, one is already gave birth to quadruplets. Atiku, 4 babies. The young lady spent the time, making babies. Okay, I'm not criticizing her. We wish her well. But these are some of the effects of that prolonged closure of the university.
I think, like you said, Dr. Abati, the federal government should not start all of this. I know there are laws on ground, no work, no pay, and all of that. But please, in the interest of this country, in the interest of peace, please pay those lecturers. And I know President Buhari will do this because these are the legacies he'll leave behind. In the first place, we ought not to have gone those 8 months. And I'm happy that the education minister have come out to say it's a failure. And that's why I still wonder why he was given a national honor. Under him, we've gone 8 months on strike. And there was nothing he did to placate it. In fact, it made the matters worse, if not for the intervention of Mr. Gbajabiamila. And kudos to Mr. Gbajabiamila. Although a lot of people will say, oh, it was after he was seen in Harvard going to school, that's why he made the intervention. But at least he stepped in. So please, we shouldn't go through all of this. ASUU had done one thing the federal government will never do. They respected the court order, which government hardly will do in this country. And that's to show the grace and magnanimity of ASUU. Have they gotten all they wanted? No. But we've seen some headway. Some of the things the government promised, they've been able to put in the next budget, like the revitalization fee and the likes. So in the interest of peace, the sticking point as regards pro rata payment should be dropped. And if the Minister of Education at least wants to save face, he should get on the media and champion this and talk in favor of ASUU. At least save face after he openly came out and said he had failed. Which I still wonder. I was given a national honor anyway.